Hello everybody, TLOU Strategist here, welcoming you to the first of my beginner guide series. Let's be honest, The Last of Us Factions multiplayer can have a steep and brutal learning curve for new players. For a lot of players, they go in blind and get their asses handed to them right off the bat. For some, it's enough that they never even bother playing the multiplayer component again, and I think that's a bit unfortunate. Basically, these beginner guide videos will contain a lot of information I wish someone else had told me when I first started playing factions. This series will go over everything you need to know to become a better Last of Us Factions player right from the start. So let's jump into it. First, we're going to go into Gear Up and discuss why using the preset loadouts versus the custom loadouts is a good idea when starting off. You have 6 custom loadout slots you can modify to your liking. But here's the catch. You need to gather up 7,500 supplies from playing matches in order to fully unlock the 13th and final custom loadout point, not to mention all the perks and weapons that you would allocate to those custom loadouts. So until you reach that point, playing with custom loadouts will put you at a serious disadvantage. Sure, you can start fooling around with your own custom loadouts after maybe unlocking the 11th or 12th loadout point, but I often find the smart move is to play the odds. So now on to a brief discussion of the preset loadouts. The first preset is Commando. I see a lot of rookies use this preset, and in my opinion, it's not a very good loadout. I think they see the purchasable shotgun and the words, full auto rifle, and get excited. The full auto has a lot of strikes against it. It takes 5 shots to down, eats bullets like crazy, with a limited magazine, and in my opinion is generally not a very good primary gun. Sure, you can make the argument it takes only 2 headshots to down, and has amazing damage wobble, but for beginners, it's still not a very good weapon. The shotgun will be too expensive to purchase many shells without some other way of generating parts. Brawler 2 is a very nice perk though, but not enough to save this loadout. The next preset is Recon. The Frontier rifle is a wonderful primary in the right hands, but it pairs far better with a revolver than the 9mm. Lone Wolf 2 is an excellent perk, but is very limited when not paired with Covert Training 2 or 3. Fortitude 2 and Hawkeye 1 are substandard uses of loadout points here. The crossbow combos nicely with the Frontier, but again is more of a stealth weapon. It's a fun loadout, but difficult to earn many parts with this one. Now on to the support loadout. This loadout is the holy grail of preset loadouts for beginners, and by far your best chance for generating lots of parts each match. When your goal is to get to 7,500 supplies and have everything unlocked, this loadout is initially the quickest way to do it. The Enforcer is a beast of a sidearm, only 4 shots to down with a high fire rate and excellent accuracy. Take note, it is basically an unscoped variable rifle with cheaper upgrade cost. The semi-auto rifle is the best primary for beginners, an accurate 3-shot down rifle with a good rate of fire once upgraded. Crafter 2 will not only allow quick crafting, but also the ability to gift a random item to a teammate. Doing so will net you 100 parts, the same as downing an opponent, and also put you in good graces with some of your teammates. First Aid Training 2 and 3 are part generating monsters, as my first 2 gameplay matches following this video will illustrate. Plus, it's always great to be able to heal yourself quickly. Reviver is one of the best perks in the game, and doing so will net you 100 parts and improve your team's chances of success. Strategist 1 is an extremely underrated perk, as it's always important to know when an opponent has you in their crosshairs. The fourth preset is the Shadow Loadout. This is the only preset that contains Covert Training 2 or higher, which is unfortunate. Heading in with no primary and only a 9mm will prove to be very difficult for the inexperienced, and even some experienced players as well. Once players start putting armor on, that challenge is ramped up even more. Lethal Efficiency 1 is generally ineffective, as it's far slower than Lethal Efficiency 2. Gunslinger 1 is modestly helpful, but you're still likely to be low on ammo throughout the entire match. Executioner 1 is great for parts, but only as long as you're getting consistent shivs. Lastly, the Spectre is an amazing gun once you learn how to handle it. The issue is keeping it fed. Next up is the Marksman loadout. This is a great loadout to switch to from the support loadout once you've upgraded the semi-auto and collected at least 800 or more parts. The semi-auto upgrade transfers over whether or not it's the scoped variety. While I generally dislike the 3 DLC scoped versions of the standard primaries, I find the scoped semi-auto to be the least offensive. Awareness 2 is a decent enough perk to help you spot enemies at a distance and locate those who've damaged you. Sharpshooter 2 is one of the best perks in the game, whereas Pistol Auto Zoom is absolutely worthless. The Assault Rifle is a powerful mid and close ranged gun to have late in the match, and it is even more ridiculous with Sharpshooter. Overall, this is a pretty decent preset loadout. On to the Barrage loadout. The Shorty is an excellent sidearm, but the scoped full auto is the worst primary in the game. Agility 2 is a wonderful perk, and when paired with Sharp Ears 3, it allows you to enter God mode, where you can move very quickly while crouch walking in listening mode. Yet, that quick crawling is relatively useless without Covert Training 2 or 3. The Flamethrower is an inexpensive close-range destroyer. The issue with this loadout is that it's geared for close combat, yet without Covert Training, it may be quite difficult to do so. I can't recommend it. Next up, Salvo. I actually really like this loadout. The revolver provides solid accuracy, fire rate, and punch for mid and distance shots, while the burst rifle is arguably the most devastating primary in the game. And while the scope version is annoying, it's tolerable in this preset. The Lucky Break perk seemed broken when it was first released, as it didn't seem to activate at appropriate times. Now that it's been fixed, it's actually quite helpful. Paired with Explosion and Bomb Expert 2, you can throw and place devastating bombs. The purchasable double barrel is essentially a shorty upgraded once, and in my opinion it's well worth the one loadout point for some close range coverage. The 8th preset loadout is Suppression. The burst pistol and variable rifle is an excellent combination. The burst pistol is deadly up close, and the variable rifle is quick and accurate at all distances. I prefer the flip combo of Enforcer and burst rifle, as it costs 300 parts less to fully upgrade both weapons, but for a preset, this is still really good. Damage Marker 2 nets you 30 parts for marking enemies, but it's still a bit of an expensive perk. Collector 1 gives you 10% part bonus for non-healing and non-gifting actions, but I'd never really use it in a custom loadout. The launcher is a great purchasable complementary weapon, pairing best with the Frontier and Hunting Rifle. It takes some practice to get used to the firing arc, but once you do it can be a game-changing weapon. The 9th and final preset is Onslaught. This is probably the second best preset after Support. The revolver is great, and the tactical shotgun is ridiculously powerful at mid and short range. The silenced version has virtually no kickback. Once it's fully upgraded, you gain a 4th shell and an increased fire rate that is just plain nasty. Quick and effective. Jack of all trades 1 is a pretty marginal perk, but some great loadouts can be made with Jack of all trades 2. Marathon Runner has limited use here. Scavenger 1 helps keep the tac shoddy fed and is quite helpful. The machete is quite expensive, but it pairs well with the tac shotgun and brawler. One last thing about the preset loadouts. You may notice that none of them are all that well constructed, and that is by design. They all include DLC elements that Naughty Dog wants you to try and buy. None of them should be considered to be useful for long-term success. They're all a little wonky and awkward, but consider the support class the least wonky of the bunch. In a future beginner's guide, I'll go over which custom loadups I found to be the most effective in each of the different game modes, depending on map of course. A quick note about appearances. For all of my characters I always use the Jeep cap for the hat and the bandana for the mask. I find both of these dark and generally unassuming. I basically go for anything that won't draw attention to my character. And with these two, sometimes when you're hiding in a dark place, it can help out a bit, or make targeting the headshot just a little bit trickier. Every little advantage you can take helps. The DLC content can seem a little expensive for a game that's been out 3+ years, but if nothing else, you should at least download all of the free maps. It's well worth it. As far as the emblem goes, you can really do whatever you want. But again, just like the appearance, I'm going for anything that doesn't draw attention, and for me that's just leaving it blank. But if you want to run around with a giant red dog print on the back of your bag, then hey, more power to you. Now here's something I wish someone had told me about this game a lot earlier, and that's controller sensitivity. You'll eventually want to be able to get somewhere near the max sensitivity that's moving the cursor all the way to the right, or at least a couple notches below it. This makes a big difference for quicker targeting, being able to turn quicker for shivs, and being able to turn and react quicker to opponents on your flanks. I don't recommend cranking up max sensitivity right off the bat, but rather to move it up notch by notch as you improve. Also, I've also found certain maps and areas of this game to be extremely dark, so I boost the brightness all the way up to the top. For me, it's been helpful for spotting some sneaky sneaks in corners. A short word about the 3 different game modes. Supply Raid is the easiest mode to find a lobby and quickly start or late join a match. Unfortunately, it's one of the most difficult to maintain high part totals. Sure, it can be done to a degree if you are supremely gifted, or if you run a medic or support class, but Supply Raid dishes out the fewest parts, and therefore supplies, of the 3 different modes. It's pretty ironic given its name. Interrogation. Interrogation is the easiest mode to generate consistently high part levels. Given that each team has unlimited respawns, players tend to play a lot more aggressively and are more willing to take chances. This is great for support and medic classes to rack up major parts. There is one big downfall to interrogation mode though. If you haven't unlocked the Strategist 3 perk, which gives you the ability to respawn several seconds early next to a teammate, you'll be playing at a distinct disadvantage versus other players who do, which is virtually everyone in interrogation. And that leaves Survivors as the best game mode for beginners to learn the game and generate consistent parts. Due to the 1 life per round setup, players tend to play far more conservatively. It allows you to familiarize yourself with the various maps without having to worry about the enemy respawning behind you, or repeatedly getting the jump on you by spawn trapping. Survivors is the least popular mode of the 3, and thus it can be the most difficult to find a lobby at times. So you may end up playing the other 2 modes initially, but it doesn't change my opinion that Survivors is ideal for those first starting out. One last note about the game modes. You'll see that there are 4 options: Find Match No Parties, Find Match Parties Allowed, Find Match DLC, and Private Match. Private Match is obviously just setting up your own match with friends. Find Match No Parties means that other teams cannot friends in their party, so basically it's just solo players. Find Match with Parties Allowed means you could go against a coordinated team of 4, which you'll most likely find yourself getting your ass kicked. Find Match DLC also allows parties, even though it doesn't say so. So it's probably a mode you don't want to go into until you've gained some experience. So choose the no parties mode until you've gained some experience yourself or have formed a party with other friends who also have experience in the game. So this wraps up part 1 of the beginner's guide. Next is part 2, which is the first 2 gameplay matches with commentary. Be sure to check it out as I'll mention tips and strategies as I play along. Feel free to comment below with any questions you may have. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.